Hey guys, and welcome to our April creative therapy word. This month, our word is rise, and we're actually doing a re recording of this month's journal entry. We had the opportunity to have a Zoom call prior to the re recording of this word's entry, and I'm just so in love with the opportunity that we're being given to make room. And that's really what this word is all about for us this month. I hope that you're excited to dive in. And although we've already kind of covered the entire journal entry during our Zoom call, we definitely wanted to make sure we made it available via this YouTube space so that you can come back and you can reference and that you can add your thoughts, your to dos, your list of items that you'd like to work on as we review this word, as we embrace this word, as we live this word. And let's get right to it. So let's switch over to that top view and see what we've got working on, what we're going to be working on this month. So we've got our journal entry rise, and we've got our different list of items or boxes that are ready for us to fill in. Now, one of the things that I want to point out to you guys is I don't want you to feel like you have to fill it in all at once. For me, I think it's important because I'm guiding this creative therapy, but for you guys, I think it's okay to do a box at a time or to do it gradually. You know, sometimes it requires so much effort, so much time, so much thinking to just come in here and practice the definition of this word. And as you guys know, I love to add a scripture to my main box. So month of rise will always have a scripture here. Month of whatever the word is will always have a scripture here for me, but that doesn't mean that it has to have one for you. I think that it's perfectly okay for you to have maybe a life quote or maybe even a goal for yourself versus, you know, none of these are actual goals. They're to-dos. There are areas where we need improvement. There are areas that we need to practice. There are areas where we can potentially help. There are areas that we need to prioritize, but none of them are goals. Notice how when we work on the word therapy, on the creative therapy, we're not necessarily setting goals for ourselves, but we're working on transforming our lives. So I've already got mine filled out, but I'm gonna come in and I actually printed a second version of the Digi file with actual sugar stock. Because I thought it would be fun to create. Remember, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, how we can actually create our little cue cards so that, you know, if wherever we need to just a quick reference versus always having our entire journal spread. Just having little cue cards that I think will be a great way to capture or to retouch some of those amazing notes that we want to create for ourselves. So the first thing I want to do is I'm actually going to come in here and add color because I'm going to color it similar to my sticker paper. Because I'm going to be using these to create some cue cards for myself with just some call outs. And I'm going to show you my cue cards on the next Zoom next week, or depending on when you watch this. But on our next Zoom gathering, I will be sharing my cue cards with you with the extra printed digital that I'm doing now because of the re-recording. So I'm just gonna come in here and add some color. Now this particular one is printed on sugar stock, but you can very well print it on the sticker paper, which is what I originally printed my journal entry one on, so that I can actually just cut them out and sticker it onto my journal entry. I love these hot air balloons. But I even love them more so now after the analogy that I kind of created for this word. Remember to catch the repeat of the Zoom calls, guys. We'll be posting them on the group so that you can catch up in the event that you missed it. All right, so I love leaving the white there because I love that it's, kind of like that turquoisey color with the white and the black outline. I think that looks really, really cool. I'm going to come in here and just kind of color some of these as well. I love what you guys are doing with the spreads and with the pages. I think it's so creative. And I love seeing it come to life because I think that's kind of what it's all about, I also made the decision to add some purples. I don't use purples enough. Guys, I'm not sure why. I'm not a big purple fan, I suppose. All right, so we are just adding some color here. And this is so that when I add it to my cue cards, that it just kind of has the same feel as my project share. Alright guys, so we're gonna do this. To add the color there. Sorry guys, Mia decided to call out for Boo Boo. Alright, so I like adding a little bit of color to my clouds, just like a little bit of an outline. I think looks really, really good. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to outline uh, this particular hot air balloon and only outline it. Like, I'm not gonna fill it in with the purple. It's okay if I go out of the line because remember, I'm gonna cut this out. I really just want so super cool. I love how sometimes that just looks on a project. And then I'm gonna come in with a super light blue, the same one that I used for my clouds, and just kind of fill in and try to move some of that lavender color. And it just creates a beautiful like little outer glow. I love it. Almost creates a little bit of a shadowing effect on the project, which I think look amazing. So I'm gonna come in, color a few more of these. And we're gonna bring in some of our turquoise colors. Super cool. And then we have our very last one here, which I really want it to be like an explosion of color, okay? All kinds of sounds tonight, guys. That was my stomach growling, in case you were wondering. I definitely want to challenge you guys to post your completed spreads on the inner circle group. Kind of keep each other accountable for some of those things. Like, so we are adding a little bit more of that lavender. I definitely want to leave some of the white lines. I think they look great. And I'm leaving my baskets bare, but you don't have to. That's just my personal preference for my project. So super cool, right? I love this DigiFile. I think that it's got so many amazing opportunities to just create an amazing cue card, and I'll definitely be working on them this week so that we can share them. I can share my cue cards on. Oh, you know what would be also great if I could turn them into contact. So like if I do cue cards that are contact cards and I actually add them to my Rolodex, like of the words that we've done. Uh, Cute idea. All right. All right, so that's a new idea to tackle on. All right, so now I'm going to bring in my finished spread, guys, because I want us to cover some of the things that I feel are incredibly important during this word and as we tackle it on and dive into this word, okay? So the scripture that I chose for the month of Box is Psalms 139, 1 through 2. And it reads like this: You have searched me, Lord. You know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. And to me, this is absolutely important because I feel that one of the most reflective things to me about the opportunity to rise is knowing and moving with the awareness that God knows me better than I know myself. You know me when I sit and when I rise. So to me, that particular statement right there means that you know me when I'm down, you know me when I'm tired, you know me when I'm weary, you know me when I don't know where to go, don't know how to proceed, don't know how to move. So you know me when I sit and when I rise. You know me when I'm happy. You know me when I'm inspired. You know me when I am motivated to do something amazing, when I have succeeded, when I am at my best. So both the fact that God knows me in my worst and in my best gives me confidence that I can rely on Him to help me make room to rise. And so you perceive my thoughts from way far. Like I don't have to come to you to tell you where I'm at. You already know, and my only requirement is to reach out and ask for your presence, ask for you to breathe in me. And so that's why I chose Psalms 139, 1 through 2. My why in this case is to push myself, to make a way, to be the version of myself that I am proud of. I will rise above any circumstance and I will be whole. So this last statement here is so important because as we continue to seek wholeness, each one of these words are filling in the gaps where we might not feel whole, where we might feel there's a void, where we might feel like we're uncertain. And that uncertainty gets filled with the fact that we're adding all these words and we're becoming these words as we continue to work through them and for them. Now, one of the biggest boxes in this particular spread is the priorities box. And I want you guys to think of Rise. I want to invite you guys to think of Rise as not your regular cliche word of like, oh, rise above it. Oh, just level up. Oh, don't let it bother you. Just, fly like wings on like eagle's wings, so above all those regular cliche Rise things, which they're all important and they're all relevant, I want us to think of Rise as the mission to make room. Okay, so let's think of Rise as an action word, and that action, or action phrase, and that action phrase is make room. Right? Make room, make room, make room, rise, make room. Because we cannot rise if we haven't made room to rise. To rise requires us to make a way. We cannot open new doors with old keys. We must get rid of old keys to obtain new ones that can unlock doors of opportunity and growth, is what I ended up jotting down for my priorities under Rise. We must learn to make room so that we have the freedom to rise. We cannot rise if we continue to be weighed down by a variety of different elements, thoughts, ideas, old ways of thinking, and this just kind of makes us handicapped to the opportunity of rising. Now, under the improve box, I added mental clarity, self-talk, personal space, set boundaries, internal healing, let things go, don't take anything personal. So let's just kind of dissect each one of these a little bit more. Mental clarity is super important and obvious, right? When our brain is fogged up with a variety of different ideas or worries or concerns or maybe overthinking, then we have the inability to think straight. Our brains too cluttered with so many different ideas, so many different scenarios, so many different worries, so many different concerns, of which we can't do a whole lot about oftentimes. And so, as we continue to make room in our mind, we'll have a little bit better mental clarity and we'll be better at making decisions. Self talk is a big one because we have the default setting in our bodies, in our systems, in our brains, that we tend to talk negatively to ourselves about ourselves. Whether it's like, oh, you're too fat, oh, you're so dumb, oh, you're so silly, why did you do that? Oh, well, that was dumb of you, Richard. Oh, that was not very smart. So all of these negative talks, believe it or not, actually affect who we become in life. And we think that, oh, well, that's just something you say, or that's just, we say it jokefully, kind of, to ourselves. But what you think you are, you become. And so the more that we continue to add some of these negative self talks to our arsenal of words, the more we become those words. So we're trying to replace the negative self talk with positive self talk as we embrace a brand new word to focus on every single month. Personal space is very important because if we're in a cluttered situation, if we have a messy office, we have a messy craft room, we have messy creative space, we have a messy bedroom, a messy bathroom, then we don't feel very accomplished and we're constantly feeling like we're running behind. We're constantly feeling like we've got so much to do because the clutter just makes it look like we've got so much going on, we've got so much to do. So creating a little bit more space, making room within your personal space gives you the sense of freedom, allows you to breathe, and starts making room for you to be able to rise. Setting boundaries. Setting boundaries is very important because I think sometimes we allow ourselves to do certain things that we don't want to do, and they could be self-sabotaging things, whether again it's that negative self-talk or sometimes it's about, what, I need to dedicate my time to something that actually is going to fill me. Maybe it's reading the Bible, maybe it's reading a book, maybe it's listening to a podcast, maybe it's, what, I need 10 minutes of listening to spiritual music or meditating. Whatever that might be, set that boundary for yourself and don't let anything come in the way of that boundary you set so that we can actually begin that internal healing. We don't realize it, but oftentimes we carry so much trauma from the past, and this particular part right here, internal healing, is something that we have all had to manage at one point or another in our lives, and sometimes we just happen to believe that it's gone and that we're no longer dealing with it or no longer facing it. But any little thing can trigger it all over again. And that's because we haven't actually taken the time to heal that old wound or that old hurt or that old fear or that old anxiety. And whatever that might be, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable will create a way to begin that internal healing process and ultimately creating room for the opportunity to rise. Letting things go. Letting things go is probably one of the biggest things. So remember, these are all areas that I feel I need to improve on. This is my improve box. And your improve box might look very different than mine. You might be an expert in all of these, and there's other different things that you might want to improve on. these are the ones that I have to improve on to ultimately benefit from making room so that I can actually rise. Letting things go is very important because we tend to hold on to things that don't even belong to us. We tend to be a history book of both positive and negative things that have happened in our lives, but we don't realize that that history book is heavy. And with that history comes so much weight. And we got to learn to shed some of that weight. We need to put our history on a diet. We need to let go of the things that weigh us down so that we have the ability to rise. And lastly, I put don't take anything personal. It doesn't matter that somebody didn't like my project or somebody, responded negatively on social media or whatnot. It's not personal. It's not about me. It's about them. And so not taking personal will prevent me from carrying negative feelings and allows me to make room for positive ones. So let's talk a little bit about the analogy as to why I chose the hot air balloons, okay? So we live in a beautiful part of Arizona where, we see hot air balloons fly up into the sky on a regular basis. But it takes a lot for a hot air balloon to be able to rise. First, it's full of clutter. It's folded into all kinds of different ways. And then there's all this fabric all over the place. You could barely get through it. And in order for the hot air balloon to be able to rise above the ground, it needs to be cleared. You need to make room for the balloon to be expanded. You need to actually fill that hot air balloon with emptiness, with a bunch of empty airspace, making room, right? We need to have room in that balloon so that it can lift off the ground and actually begin to rise. And so that's why I chose the hot air balloon for this analogy, because like the hot air balloon, we are being weighed down with a variety of old thinking, a variety of that textbook content from our life story, again, good or bad, that keeps weighing us down. And if we want to become the better version of ourselves, then we must learn to let go of old keys so that we can make room for new ones. And as we make room for new ones, we actually have the ability to open new doors of opportunity and growth. Right? So as we remove the weights that we have on our hot air balloon, then we actually give it room to grow and we give it room to get filled with air so that it can actually rise up into the skies. So I love that analogy, and it just sounds so heavy, right? It sounds so deep. It sounds so intense, and I'm really excited to continue to work on this on a regular basis via our Zoom calls, because I think they're really gonna help us just kind of dissect the word a little bit more, embrace it, become it, adapt it, build it, and live it. So one of the biggest missions with our creative therapy is how we can actually help rise. How can we can actually help give that word, share that word, implement that word in a way that it's manifested through our actions. And what I put down here is help others rise by celebrating their attributes. Celebrating who they are in your life, celebrating what they mean in your life. Like, we have the biggest opportunity to celebrate someone's ability to make us happy, make us laugh, inspire us, make us whole, be a listening ear, like all of those things. Like, thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you so much for being an escape in my day. Thank you so much for loving me. Thank you so much for making me laugh. You become my escape for a little bit, and I'm really grateful to have you in my life. Like, that's the way that we help others rise, because when we celebrate who they are in our story versus what they do, but ultimately who they are, we're lifting them up by acknowledging the incredible amount of room that they have made in their lives to include us in it. So thank you for making room in your life for me. Thank you so much for that. And thank you guys so much for making room in your life for this, right? Because I'm grateful for it. You've made room and you've allowed me to come into this space and share this with you. And the other thing I wrote down was rewarding any room made for growth. And that one's important because sometimes we fail to. I think that the more deliberate we are about our verbiage, the more we start planting seeds in other people. So, for example, if one of my kids has is a little bit more organized in their notebook from school, and I'm like, wow, Andrew, I'm so happy for you. I love how you try to be so organized, or you work on being so organized, and you just make room for yourself to, you know, to have a better handle about your time because you know where everything is. Like you just made room for that to happen. And I'm so proud of you. I can't wait. I want to be more like you in that sense. Or if somebody picked up their desk, or if somebody, you know, did wash their car, like wow, that's so cool that you made some room in your time. You clean your car, and now you've made room to go out and feel so accomplished because your car looks pretty and clean and fresh, and it just feels good, right? It's like taking a shower. You're like, oh, you're ready. You feel good. You're ready to tackle on that day. So rewarding any room made for growth is a way that we can help others rise. So on my list of practices, things that I have to practice so that I am implementing my word, I've got patience, I've got letting go, I got movement, and I've got breathing. All of these will lead me to freedom, will lead me to breathing, so letting go of stress, letting go of trauma, and will allow me to fill my hot air balloon with a lot of empty space because I have made room to rise. And that's kind of like our full circle here for the last three words that we've been studying. And I want to talk a little bit about movement because I think that we failed to understand how movement actually impacts our energy, our demeanor, our our physique, not just like, oh, I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna lift weights, I'm gonna lose weight. No, it's far beyond that. It's about the opportunity to actually use your body as it was intended to be used, as a healing machine. Your body is a healing machine. It actually has the ability to restore itself, to repair itself. Our bodies require sleep at night so that it can repair itself from the work that it did during the day or from the movement during the day. And so as your body restores, it restarts again the next day, that much more rested, that much more healed, that much more energy has come back. Your muscles have been restored throughout the process of the night. We know this already. We're smart enough to know this, but one of the things that we fail to do is we fail to actually tap in to the ability of the body to heal itself. We forget. We forget that it's there, designed specifically by divine design to heal itself. It has that power, but we don't utilize it as much. So if you're ever feeling anxiety, if you're ever feeling sad, if you're ever feeling stressed, confused, one of the best things you can do for yourself is get up. Get up from that chair, get up from that sofa, get up from that seat at your desk at work. Get up. Go for a walk around the building. Walk around your house. Move, stretch a little bit. Lift your hands up to the sky and just hold them for a few seconds. And realize that your body's going to start to activate, like, okay, what's going on? Let's start. It automatically starts to clear the mind. What's in here? Let's we're doing some spring cleaning in this brain of ours. Like, okay, let's get rid of that dusty rug. Let's get rid of that dusty chair. Let's get rid of this dust because we need to clear the mind. The body's moving. Something's happening. What's going on? And so it's almost like an immediate response to that, similar to the technique that we talked about last month when we talked about breathing, and how if you're ever in a mental funk and you're ever feeling like, oh, I feel down, I feel anxiety, I feel depressed, well, if you actually take two quick deep breaths in, hold it, and release it, it's an instant shift. It's an instant just mood swing. And what's so important about that is realizing how the body was designed to protect us. The body is designed to house our mental state, spiritual state, emotional state, physical state, all of it. It is designed for that purpose, but we abuse our bodies by becoming lethargic, by not utilizing it to its best advantage. And so, again, guys, my biggest recommendation for you is if you're ever feeling in that state of like stuckness where you're just stuck, or you're feeling anxiety or depressed or slow, get up, walk around, do some foot, hip, ceiling exercises in place, sit on it, whatever it is that you're physically able to do, move your body. Your body is an incredible machine that's designed to heal itself. And the more you tap into that power, the better it's going to become at taking care of you. So this is an amazing word, guys, that we have added to our collection of words this month. Now, typically I would actually write every single one of these things down during our video process, but since it's a retake of the original video, I didn't want to have to go through that process again, because now that we have the ability to have the discussions on the inner circle, man, it's just so life-changing, because I feel like I'm in the room with you guys, and I feel like we're really making a difference in each other's lives, and it just makes my heart happy. And I hope that you're feeling the benefit of it just the same. I love that you're here. I love that you're part of this. I love that you're participating. I love that you're engaging. I love that you're putting it to practice. So I want to thank you for making room for me, for making room for creative therapy, for making room for each other, being your support systems. You guys are an extraordinary example of what being a human being is all about, and I'm so grateful to be in the same room as you guys during our Zoom classes and inner circle gatherings. And I can't wait to see what this word does for you, means for you, creates for you. And so let's keep talking about it as we continue to share lots more in our inner circle gatherings. Hopefully by the next time we gather, you've had the opportunity to watch this video and complete your journal entry, so that we can really dive in a little bit more and see what parts of these are the ones that have become the most challenging. And once we identify what those are, then we'll be able to dissect them a little bit more so that we can understand what needs to change, both internally so that it can reflect externally. Guys, thanks again for being a part of Creative Therapy. I hope that you're finding it absolutely transformational. And again, it isn't going to happen on its own just by filling out these pieces of paper, just by coloring these pages. Doesn't mean that we're automatically going to transform. We have to put action to our intention. And our intention is to benefit from this at 100%. And so if that's our intention, let's put some action to it so that it can actually make a difference in our lives. Guys, I can't wait to dive in to the rest of this series. And as we jump into a new word next month, continue to make amazing happen, bring paper to life, and I will see you in our inner circle. Adios.